Okay, we're going to start the webinar now. Very warm welcome to everybody on our webinar, which is all about advanced alerting. It's a boiling hot day. Hopefully it is where you are. Just a quick update on the weather, all part of the service from Prosperon. The weather's about to break, probably a bit later on this afternoon, and storms and showers are forecast, so we better make the most of it today. In terms of hope, well, obviously as a personal note to everybody, we hope you're all staying safe in this uncertain, weird period that we've been going through. We just want to obviously move a slide forward a little bit on here. Some quick introductions to ourselves. My name's Matt Crane. You'll see my mugshot there. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Prosperon Networks. Joining me today is Echmel. He's our Senior SolarWinds Engineer. Some of you may be familiar with his name and his face. He may have been working with some of your installations up and down the country. Right at the top, there's just a few links to make you aware of. Like all of our webinars that we do, we post a lot of these videos, recordings up on our YouTube channel. Some of you may have attended in the past. Some of you are new to us, we know. If you want to take a look at some past recordings that we've done, some past webinar events on all different subjects, mainly on SolarWinds, and you'll find them on that YouTube link that we've got there. And the usual places in terms of LinkedIn and Twitter, we have a good following on those platforms as well. And the blog posting as well is where we share some of our insights. That's available from our website. So that's just a quick introduction to you all. The agenda today is obviously about alerting. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people on this webinar today, and some of you obviously may have struggled in this area. It's one of the most important areas of the Orion platform is the ability to get those alerts and those notifications in the right way to make sure that they're tailored and customized to your own organization. So this event really is all focused on getting the alerting tuned to your organization and bringing in sort of remediation and notification, automations, that kind of thing. So hopefully today we'll be able to share some insights with you in this next 45-minute period, and you'll be able to take advantage of those things in your own platforms as we move further forward. Right at the end, obviously, we've got Ekmal's going to come in on the live demonstrations. He's going to take you through some various examples. We've got in the control panel, you'll see the ability for you guys to ask questions. We'll be doing a mix of these. Some of the questions we'll bring out into the open, some of them we'll answer in line. We've also got 2 polls today to keep you all interested. The first one's going to be coming up shortly. We like to get some feedback from yourselves, so we'll be launching a couple of polls. Very easy questions to answer, but useful feedback for us. At the end of the session, we're going to have a Q&A, just bringing out some of those questions highlighted that we haven't covered. And that's the ability for you to then, at the end of the session, ask some things for us as well if there's time. Okay, so there are some of you we know that are a bit new to us. So I'm just going to do a very quick 5 minutes in terms of what we're all about at Prosperon Networks. You'll see on the screen here things that we're actually really, really proud of. Over the last 15 years, we've worked with SolarWinds, and obviously some other vendors as well. But SolarWinds is one of our main focus areas. And we are providing up and down the country and in Europe and the Middle East over 700-800 days of professional services now. So that's something that we are, really, really proud of in terms of being able to help some of you guys. Some of you will be familiar with us already. But we also have, obviously, more to us in professional services. Some of you we take care of on our support desk. Some of you have spoken to some of our support engineers in terms of getting some of the issues that you're finding resolved. A lot of the time we're doing that without, obviously, the assistance of the vendor, which is, again, just highlights our experience. Our engineers, obviously, are accredited by SolarWinds when they work on your platforms. Some of the engineers also are security cleared, so we can work on the most sort of, sensitive platforms that you have. We've been awarded up and down the years by SolarWinds with all sorts of different awards, and we've got technical excellence for some of the deployments that we have taken part in and provided. And a couple of our engineers are also, for those familiar, are actually MVPs for the THWAC community. If you're new to SolarWinds or new to, I don't understand what THWAC is. THWAC is the community of SolarWinds users hosted at on the SolarWinds website, where people contribute to ideas, share experiences, share knowledge. Our engineers obviously take a part of that and have been awarded the MVP status, excuse me. So that's just obviously in terms of our presence at SolarWinds. Obviously, we've been working with them for 15 years, and we've also very recently joined up with a new vendor called NetBrain. Last month, we had a session some of you may have seen in terms of NetBrain, which is all about automation, documenting, visualizing the network, being able to solve problems really easy, and bringing SolarWinds data into those platforms, sharing the data between the two. So that's a really valuable tool. Again, you'll see that session on the YouTube channel if you'd like to have a look at it. So just very quickly on next slide, we've got professional services. Let's speak to some of you about the range of services that we provide. So close is our relationship with SolarWinds. Down the years, that we've been able to provide some real valuable services for, I suppose, whatever part of the journey you're in with SolarWinds. In many ways, you may be just embarking upon an implementation for the very first time. And we get involved with deployments of different types up and down the country, in terms of, for those of you that, from an implementation point of view, would like to get the basics in place, get the basics first right, so that you start to get belief in the system and can move it forward yourselves. And the other type of implementation is a full production installation, where we work really closely with you, and you end up at the end of that period with a all singing, all dancing Orion monitoring platform. That's the implementation. On the consultancy side, we're very aware that some of you may be obviously of using SolarWinds for some time, and due to restrictions on knowledge or even time resource itself, some of you may not have been able to get the platform singing and dancing in quite the way you want. And alerting is part of that. We're going to cover that today. But other things in terms of where we've worked up and down the years is perhaps your environment's gone stale in terms of SolarWinds versioning. Perhaps some of those things need to be brought up to date so you can take advantage of new features. Maybe it's in terms of working on maps, maybe working on alerts, as we're going to cover, dashboard views and that sort of thing. So that's where our consultancy services comes in for people that have existing platforms. The other part of that is a growing part, actually, which is the system integration side of things, where we are now starting to be asked more heavily to bring other solutions within SolarWinds, get them talking to each other, working together. I mean, Ekmel here, this is where I can bring you in terms of, you've been working, I know, lately on some integrations with CMDB and service desk integrations. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yep, sure. Hi, everyone. First of all, for system integration side, we have different options, but we generally work on CMDB integration with different service management tools. This can be ServiceNow or any other service management tool. And similarly, we are also defining system integration using SolarWinds API again for incident records. So when a problem occurs, we are creating incident tickets in related service management platforms, help desk platforms.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of working together, many of you will have different sort of profiles using these different tools. And what we find up and down is that it's great to have people singing from the same hymn sheet in many ways, bringing systems together which may be owned by different departments and that sort of thing. So it's good to get some of the integrations in place. You may not want to do that straight away. That might be something you'd want to tackle a little bit further down the line. But yeah, it's an important aspect, and one, as I said, that we're being asked more and more to provide. Okay, in terms of the bottom three, training, well, we're very proud, actually. SolarWinds have actually, a few years back now, have chosen one of our courses, our training courses, the administrator course, as a prerequisite for moving forward and passing the accredited professional status. Some of you on the line today may have already achieved SolarWinds STP accreditations. And the administrator course is all about getting people with the knowledge that they need to go on and pass that. So that's one particular course that we're proud of being selected in terms of its content. We have other training courses. You guys have other profile types that are going to be using or indeed use the Orion platform. They could be, for example, NOC users, people that need to know how to navigate through the solution. They could be management roles, people that need to know specific things. And it's something that we've seen down the years, introduced different training courses for. So we have administrator courses, we have knowledge share courses. We also have now, and alerting is part of that, some masterclass courses. One is on the alerting side and the other is on the reporting side. So these are courses dedicated to this specific area of SolarWinds. So those are the training offerings that we have. Support, I mentioned it in the last slide. Many of you will be customers of ours already and enjoying the support that we provide. 800, I think, tickets per year it is. So we're proud of not just that number being able to handle that, but also proud of being able to service those within our own right without necessarily having to look to SolarWinds to get involved, which often enough for you guys turns into a quicker resolvement of some of those issues. Right, lastly, the health checks. Again, really proud of this one. We were the first partner actually to introduce health checks. These are SolarWinds Orion health checks to the customer base. So talking quickly about health checks, what they are is a review of your platform. Okay. So within a session that we'll have with you, some of you have enjoyed this already, we will take a look at all the aspects of your Orion platform, how it's installed, the platform that it's on, how stable that platform is, how scalable that platform is. And we'll look at the features that you're using, whether you are, as an example, in a bad place with alerting. Some of you may be. That may be the reason you're here today. Where you are at with dashboard views, whether the right people are getting the right views. All of these sorts of things are covered in the health check session, where we will come in, take a look. It's non-invasive. At the end of the day, we will produce a report, a document for you, which clearly outlines all of the aspects of that health check and the things that we can see, that we can share with you, that can be improved upon. Okay, so with that ado, I will stop talking. It's time for our first poll. Hopefully you'll see on your screens, beg your pardon, the first poll. So in terms of really easy questions, folks, nothing too taxing today. Are you currently utilizing custom alerts within your SolarWinds platform? Now, we're giving you some easy answers. I don't think they're particularly taxing, but it's important for us if we can get some sort of feel for what you guys are doing already at the moment within the alerting platform. So vote away. We'll share some answers maybe on screen, but if not, I can review them. So we're just going to leave a couple of seconds for you to complete those polls. I think the overwhelming response so far, if you can see, is that many of you are using already custom alerts, which is great, absolutely. And maybe we can share some other things within this session today that will allow you to continue using those. So that's a really good thing to see. So I think we'll move forward on from the poll. Thank you very much for taking part in that. What we're going to do now, in terms of, from me, I'm going to let Ekmel here now take over and do some of the talking in terms of why do we need alerting. Ekmel, I'll hand things over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And hi again. Yeah, before showing some details about how to use SolarWinds for defining custom alerts in order to take different actions, it is better to discuss why do we need alerting in SolarWinds first. As you know, first aim is identifying faults in our environment. So we would like to identify availability or performance problems in our environment. So we generally use SolarWinds to identify these problems. And SolarWinds has out-of-the-box alert definitions to identify those issues, those faults. But we can use custom alerts to use SolarWinds alerts for additional features. For example, we can use SolarWinds for automation. By this way, we can enrich existing data in SolarWinds for our devices, for our servers. So we can map data coming from a specific resource to another data part in SolarWinds to enrich visibility grouping features in SolarWinds. In addition to automation, we can also define remediation actions in SolarWinds. So when a problem occurs, we can define an action to correct that problem. These remediation actions can be defined if you have previous experience on a specific problem. So if you have a knowledge base for this, we can define remediation action to resolve that problem. And we can also define integration using alerts. As Matt mentioned before, we can integrate SolarWinds with third-party tools or third-party companies. We can use, again, SolarWinds actions to integrate SolarWinds alert data with other tools. If we look at some examples for these features in SolarWinds alerting, we can check the next slide here. Matt, if we jump to the next slide.
Yeah. I mean, just on that, before we move on to the next slide, Ekmel, in terms of, just so it's clear for the audience, for what sort of module, well, what modules are needed in terms of for us to be able to go in and customize, define alerts? So we clear that up just so everyone's really clear in terms of, just so there's no communication or confusion on that.
Mm-hmm. So SolarWinds is coming with a centralized alert management system. So even if you have just single, let's say, network performance monitoring module, or if you have just, let's say, another server and application monitor module, it doesn't matter. You will see same central alert management system. So we will use same user interface to define these alerts. But only difference is based on our requirement. For example, if you want to define a custom alert for applications, then of course, in this case, we need server and application monitoring module.
Okay, thank you.
If you look at some details about these features for fault detection, we can identify if a device, a node is down, if an application is down, if we have high CPU, high memory usage, or high bandwidth usage problems, we can get alerts for those issues. We can define automation. For example, we can update node custom properties using alert automation functionality. So I will show an example today for integrating data from IPAM to SolarWinds node custom property. We will see how we can update site custom property based on IPAM subnet information. In similar way, we can update, for example, node device type custom property based on node name convention. We can change one connection custom property based on node machine type, if it is router, or we can pick related device type, and based on that information, we can update custom property. Another feature we use alerting in SolarWinds is for remediation. So based on, let's say, high CPU usage or high memory usage on a server, we can stop the process that is causing that issue, or we can restart related service. If we have high disk usage problem, we can execute an external script to delete these log files located in that file system to increase available free space. Or if we are monitoring IIS and if we notice any performance problem, we can restart IIS website to resolve the problem. And we can also use SolarWinds for integration. So we can send email notifications, we can share link for example, perf stack feature in SolarWinds, so you can directly access related metrics for that specific device when an alert is generated. We will also look at that example today. And we can also integrate SolarWinds with alert management, help desk platforms, or instant messaging platforms like Slack, Teams, etc.
Just on the notifications, we've mentioned sending email notifications. What other types of notification types can we bring in and can we utilize with the Orion platform? Can we, for example, can we use SMS?
Yes, of course. We can integrate SolarWinds to send SMS text messages. We just need to provide related SMS provider information. If it is an email listener, we need to define email type action. If it is a web listener, we need to define related web request action in order to connect related SMS provider.
Okay.
So I believe we can start demonstration part.
Let's move on to the exciting stuff. I'm going to make you presenter, Akmal, and you can move us forward with those live demonstrations. I changed it to yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you can see my screen now. This is
I don't know whether you may want to make that a bit bigger for me. I don't know in terms of, it may be okay, but if any of you can't see the screen, please do pop a message into the chat window if it's difficult to see.
So maybe I can just zoom in. So as you see, we have devices grouped by vendor. As I mentioned, we have also custom properties. These custom properties are generally used to populate our logical data in SolarWinds. So we can use city custom property to provide city information, or we can use site custom property to provide maybe a region or office or branch information. So these logical data can be managed in custom properties. But when you add your device, you need to specify your custom property, or you need to revisit your SolarWinds environment to populate these custom properties if you don't have any automation action. As you see, we have site custom property, but it is only updated for just single device. We have 40 devices with unknown value. So it means that we have that custom property, but we are not managing that custom property in a correct way. Inside, we are keeping location information. So we can pull that information from other modules we have SolarWinds. IPAM, IP Address Manager, is a good example for that one. So if I go to IP Address Manager Manage Subnet screen, this can give you idea for the data that we can consume from IPAM and update SolarWinds node data. As you see, we have subnet definitions here. We can populate these subnets manually, or we can get these subnets from DHCP automatically, or we can populate in bulk using spreadsheets. And when we have a subnet definition, we have some fields to fill. As you see, we have description field, we have location fields, and we can also define custom properties for these subnets. As you see, we have location for that subnet. And when we have this subnet, we know that we are monitoring all IP addresses in the subnet. And if we are monitoring our nodes, if node management IP addresses are also existing in subnet scope, then we can use that subnet data to automatically populate node custom property, for example, site custom property, using subnet location value. So if you look at settings here, as you see, we have different locations for our subnet definitions. If I go to alerts, I have a webinar alert definition, Autopopulate site custom property from IPAM. Let's look at this alert settings. First of all, if you are defining an alert for automation, it is better to not to evaluate this alert too frequently, because it is just to update existing data, enrich data in SolarWinds. So I defined 4 hours here, so it won't cause any additional performance issue for SolarWinds. And it is better to use lowest level of severity for this alert, because this is not a real fault alert. This is just to automatically populate site custom property on our devices based on IPAM subnet data. In order to correlate data between IPAM and our node data, we need to define our trigger condition, and in order to pull that information, we need to use query here. As you see, we have a custom SQL alert type, and we are defining this in node level, and we are defining a join statement with IPAM tables. So if I try to access that information, this is the query. And if you look at here, for each node, we can see that we have mapping for IPAM location. For some of our nodes, we can pull that IPAM location information, and we can push that value to node site custom property. So if I go back to SolarWinds, we can validate our query here. Query condition is valid. We can skip reset condition, time of day settings as default. And in trigger actions, we need to use a special action type, change custom property. So if I click on add action, we need to use the first one, change custom property action type. And if you look at the details for the existing one, as you see, we are updating site custom property. And in order to update that site custom property, we are using a SQL statement. If you look at details for that SQL statement, I can just remove that part. And as you see, it is getting subnet location based on node ID. This is also a variable. We need to provide that variable. So if site custom property is empty for, let's say, node ID 71, then in this case, this action will automatically populate London value. But if this node ID is, let's say, 13, then in this case, it will populate Manchester value. So that's the idea of using custom query again in order to populate custom property value. When you click on, let me just show you on new screen. If we click on add action, and if we select change custom property, you can select your custom property in that list. So I can say site, and in order to insert my query here, I can use insert variable. I just need to select define SQL SWQL variable, and I need to populate my query here. But keep in mind, we are also using node ID variable, so we are combining variable and query in order to pull correct information. And in reset actions, we don't have anything. And in summary part, we can see number of items that will be affected with that alert. As you see, we have 29 items that will be updated with this alert. I just cancel that one, and I enable this alert definition to run this automation by SolarWinds. Now I can go to active alerts, and we should see notice level alerts in that list. I'm just refreshing to see up-to-date information. When we get our alert here, we will be sure that this alert will be triggered for those items and related custom property will be updated. Still waiting. Not yet. Let me go to Manage Nodes screen. So we started to see 29 notice level alerts here, and these are related to our site custom property population. So if I go to Manage Nodes, and if I refresh my Manage Nodes page, now I expect to see updated data here. So as you see now, we have only 11 unknown items. We were able to set 29 items based on IPAM subnet data. If you have all of your subnets in your IPAM, then you can update all nodes in your environment. And when you add a new device to SolarWinds, this information will also be automatically updated by SolarWinds. So that's the example of using automation for custom alerting in SolarWinds. Now let's look at another example, which will be remediation action. That part.
Just quickly, we had a question come in from Daniel in terms of, can the SQL be easily made future-proof with SWQL?
Yes,
is that something you can answer? Yeah.
It can be converted to SWQL. Yep, that won't be a problem.
Perfect.
So as the next topic, we can look at remediation action. I have an example alert definition here, high memory utilization with top 5 processes. In fact, this is some part of this alert is already defined as an out-of-the-box alert in SolarWinds. Let's look at alert definition. We have condition here, high memory usage with top 5 processes. It is critical level alert. If you look at trigger condition, I have customized that one just to run on specific devices. So as you see, it is defined in node level, and we are monitoring if person's memory usage level has reached a critical level threshold value. If this value is yes, and if device name starts with pros dev, these are our development environment devices, then this alert will be triggered. For that alert, trigger action part is important. So if you look at trigger actions area, first of all, we are executing a program. Just for your information, we are using execute an external program type action here. And we are using a SolarWinds tool. It is coming with server and application monitoring module. It is real-time process explorer. We are giving some parameters to this in order to get details for our item. So if you look at details, we are giving node ID, we are giving alert information, we are giving count 5, sort by physical memory, and we are giving 2 minutes as the timeout value. So this action will trigger that process. It will get top 5 processes from server that has memory problem, and it will update related alert node information for this alert. This is an out-of-the-box utility coming with SolarWinds. We only updated parameters here. If you want to check these parameters, let me just try to get here. You can see details for real-time process information here. You can see available variables we can use to pull that information. As you see, we can sort by CPU, memory, or disk I/O. When we get that alert and when we expect that alert node will be updated, after 2 minutes, this is our timeout period, we have two actions. First one is sending an email notification. I have defined my email address here. So we are sending email notification. We are also adding alert node information, not information here. So we can see top 5 processes on this server that will have memory problem. And then we are also executing an external program, which is a PowerShell script. We have created a PowerShell script, kill Windows process, and it is expecting two variables, device name, which is caption, and alert object ID, which is showing alert information. So we can pull alert node information from this. So if I go to my server, and if I look at that script I created for webinar, just to replace SolarWinds connection settings, but basically it is generating a log file. It gets some protected processes. You can extend that list. So if you don't want to kill specific processes, you can add these processes in this list. And then script connects to SolarWinds API. It pulls alert node information using SWQL. And then it identifies top process. Then it tries to get that top process from related target device, and it tries to terminate that process automatically.
So ECMO, just to be clear, we've talked about, obviously, you've mentioned the API app in the script there. Yep. So just to be clear and clarify for everyone here, we are using here in this example the SolarWinds API to perform these actions. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. So okay. It means in order to execute these scripts, we need to install Orion SDK on SolarWinds server in order to execute that script. If you check our YouTube part, you can also see SolarWinds API Customization webinar, where we are describing how to run these integration scripts. This can also give you an idea about using SolarWinds API.
Perfect.
So when we execute that script, we expect that action will terminate related process on that server. Just one important thing for that action, as you see, we are using a special user in order to connect and kill that process. You can change that user information. You need to give a username that has permission to pull process information and to kill process information on your destination server. So if I cancel that one, this is already enabled. Let me connect to our test device. So this is our test device. I have installed a special tool, test limit, in order to consume memory to simulate high memory usage. So I'm just trying to use resources on that server. And as you see, it's increasing. If you look at also our script here, just to give you an idea, this is our script location, and we also have a logs folder where we expect to see logs when that action is executed. So if you look at server details, it is still consuming memory, as you see. As far as I remember, we have 90% limit for memory. So now, as you see, we have exceeded threshold value. If I go to SolarWinds, and if I find my device here, it is ProsDev 01. We can see current memory usage here. We can check latest data, which is showing 75%. We can just click on poll now to collect latest information, so that by this way we can identify that this alert will be triggered.
Ekmal, can we also apply this to a service restart, not just a process kill?
Of course, because we are using a custom script here, instead of killing a process, we can also run a service restart action here.
Okay.
It depends on your scripting capabilities. So based on your scripting capability, you can define your own custom scripts in order to execute directly from SolarWinds. So just checking data on our server. We can see that server status has been updated. And I would expect to see that critical alert in this area soon. So as you see, we have our alert. If I look at alert details, it was triggered at 11:45 and it executed that program. And we can see alert note information, which shows top 5 processes. As you see, test limit 64 is the top process which is causing the problem. So we expect an email notification in 2 minutes, and then we expect a kill action on that server.
There's a question on the fly which you might be able to answer, Ekmal, in terms if there's a requirement to set up an alert if an Exchange database backup is taking more than 2 hours. Is that a possible alert that we could set up? You don't have to show us, but just in terms of asking the question from one of the members of the audience. Do you want me to repeat it, or did you grasp it?
In fact, we need to clarify if we are monitoring that metric, if we monitor duration of the backup for Exchange. If we can pull this information, then of course we can generate alert for this and we can define actions for this.
Okay.
We just need to clarify if it is coming with SolarWinds out-of-the-box template or if we need to define a custom monitoring template.
I see. Yeah, of course.
So just checking status. We can see not modification information. And now I have received an email.
Okay.
Which is also showing, as you see, top 5 processes. We can see top memory usage and detailed information. And if I connect to my server, process killed automatically by that process, by that script.
Okay.
If I look at my SolarWinds server, I can quickly verify. As you see, we have action log. We can see which process was terminated by SolarWinds. So that's the way of defining remediation action. I know we have out of time, but I would like to show very quickly the third option where we can use perf stack function in order to show enriched data in SolarWinds. We have an interface receive error. This is a standard alert definition, where we can generate alerts when there are errors on interfaces. Currently, it is defined to monitor specific interfaces. When that problem occurs, you can send email notifications that may contain links to SolarWinds PerfStack feature. Just to give you a brief idea, if you don't have any idea about PerfStack, it was introduced by SolarWinds, I think almost 3 years ago. It is an easy way to build dashboards on SolarWinds. It is your project space. You can drag and drop metrics directly in order to visualize items on SolarWinds. So you can see different metrics in same time frame. So if we check this alert definition, action definition, as you see, it is sending interface name information and device information with high receive error, and we also have a link information, which is linked to PerfStack. And we have items, as you see, we are providing chart input data. For interface information, we want to see availability, discards, errors, total packets, percent utilization, etc. And for node entry, we would like to see CPU usage, memory usage information. So if I simulate that one, and if I select a specific interface, let's select that one. As you see, it generates a link. If I open this in a new link, it is automatically redirected to SolarWinds PerfStack Performance Analysis Dashboard, where we can see, as you see, it is defined for last 12 hours now. We expect to see data for last 12 hours on that window. It's taking some time to load.
So while we're waiting for that one, is a good question in terms of we're showing obviously examples here, but can we update an existing ticket in any service desk tool? So the actions we're seeing here that we're taking, can they be shown in a ticket? I think is probably where I'm coming from there, Ekmel.
Yes, using SolarWinds API and related third-party tool API, we can update ticket. For example, we can change status from in progress to resolved. We can change status, we can change owner information, we can create tickets, we can update tickets, and we can also define integration to change alert status in SolarWinds based on your ticket status in your ticket management system.
Perfect.
So that's an example of PerfStack page where we can see data. As you see, for last 12 hours, we can see availability information for that interface. We can see traffic details for that interface. We have two different charts. And if you look at our item here, maybe I can just show that one. We are giving our host name, we are giving PerfStack, and then we are providing our metrics. If we want to see them in the same chart, we need to separate them by comma. Otherwise, we need to separate them by semicolon in order to see those items in different pages. There are also other ways. Sorry.
Ekmo, a question coming from Colin in terms on the PerfStack side. He's asking, we're providing a link to the PerfStack, but can we include the PerfStack graph itself rather than just the link? Is that possible?
I cannot say directly an answer for this, but as it requires authentication for SolarWinds, I believe we cannot embed that information to PerfStack. We can just provide link information to PerfStack.
Okay.
But that can be achieved using SolarWinds reporting. So we can export a report and we can send report data as an email attachment. So just an example, you can use that email area. You can define your custom HTML format. As you see, it is a little bit complex here. We have custom items. So you can use a better visualization for your alert. You can show your devices, device properties, you can show custom properties, and you can show your links in a clear format. That's also another way to use a better notification, user-friendly notification in SolarWinds. I believe I completed my part for demonstration, Matt, so I can give
no worries.
the floor to you.
Yeah. Tell me if you can see the screen. Guys, we're just going to finish up very quickly. One last poll. Hopefully the poll will be launched so you can see it. I'll read the poll out. From what you have seen today, could you use custom alerts? Obviously, we know some of you already are. Could you use custom alerts to improve your SolarWinds platform? Be interesting to see the feedback on that. We've shared a little bit more information with you today, which might give different kind of answers to the first poll. But yeah, it's been a good one. I can't actually see the responses. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not worried about that now. Echo, are you seeing the responses on the poll?
Yeah, I can see
I seem to have a different screen open. I'm not sure why, but there we are. Here we are. I've got them now. So yeah, so the responses to that very much the same as the first poll. A lot of you are implementing already custom polling. Some of you, can do a little bit more assistance. So that's great. Thank you very much. Let me just come back to. Hopefully, you can see my screen. We've got some time for many more questions. I seem to have lost my control panel, so I'm not sure why that is. Bear with me. Ekman, I think we still have your screen, so that might be my problem actually. There we are. Right, let's just go. So we've got some other questions. Let's just get through those, guys, as quick as I can for you. Question from Tim: is SWAC a good place to pick up some already pre-formatted templates? Ekmel. I think there are obviously a lot of templates on SWAC, Tim. I'm not sure whether you've done a lot of exploring there.
Yes, in SWAC you can see templates shared by other SolarWinds users, other SolarWinds customers, and you can also see some feedback from SolarWinds engineers. We are also providing data there, but we are also generating some blogs to improve your platform. You can also see these examples in our blog posts. So you can also download these examples from our company website.
We've got a lot of this information, everybody, on the blogs as well. If you want to have a look at our blog pages, you'll find all sorts of information there. We've got specific blogs actually on alerting. And as I highlighted right at the top of the webinar, there's the YouTube pages where we have a little bit more deep dive into the alerting capabilities of Orion. I'm going to wrap things up quickly here. Everybody, thank you very much for coming on. Stay safe. There's going to be a survey at the end of the session. We'd be absolutely thrilled if you could take a couple of minutes to take part in this survey. It's valuable information for us, whether these kind of events have been valuable to you, and other things that we can ask just to keep us thrilled and excited about the journey that you're all taking part on. So if you could take part in that survey, that would be smashing. I'm going to finish up by asking you all to stay safe, enjoy the weather, and a big thank you for Ekmel for providing these live demonstrations for us today. We'll hopefully catch up with most of you again soon. In the meantime, it's goodbye from us. Thank you very much.